County.
Hello and welcome to the special edition Rogers Television program dedicated to providing you with information about COVID-19 and the services and resources available to you and to your family. For those of you who watch the program regularly, you'll know I like to say a few words just at the very beginning before I introduce our guest. I try and change the message from time to time because COVID-19 is an evolving situation, and there is good news actually as we move towards reopening our province. So as we move into phase 2 of the reopening, let's celebrate the new opportunities we have, mindful of the guidance that's still in place. We are advised to continue to practice social distancing, to wear a mask, and if you can't do that, make sure you wash your hands frequently. Limit your gatherings to 10 or less, staying 6 feet apart. We are getting there, but there is more to do. And hot off the press today is a media release from, they call Grey Bruce's top doctor, who happens to be Dr. Ian Era, who is the medical officer of health. And this is the latest news that they wish to share. Dr. Era strongly recommends retail employees wear cloth masks or other non-medical face coverings, and patrons at retail settings wear cloth masks or also other non-medical face coverings. We know that wearing a face mask and a face covering is critical to decreasing the risk of COVID-19. And we want to reduce the physical spread when we are starting to gather in more groups of 10, and also to be able to reopen the businesses. So that is the latest recommendation from our top doctor, our medical officer of health. I want to express a huge thank you to all of you in our community who continue to provide services and resources for all of us. To the medical officer of health, the public health unit staff, the essential and community support services, and vendors who continue to reinvent themselves, and the business owners as well. Thank you for your hard work. We will get through this together and stronger than ever, and we look forward to seeing more of each other in the days to come. And certainly on that note, I am delighted to welcome our first guest today, Jackie Ralph. And Jackie is the Youth Awareness Coordinator for the Canadian Mental Health Association of Grey Bruce. Jackie, I know you've been on the program before, and I'm always delighted to have you back because you lift my day. I have to be honest. And what a great way for me to start, doing some taping of some segments now. I know that you've got some news to share about a very exciting event that's just happened, and I understand it was on your birthday, so belated happy birthday. And it's all about the Never Dance Alonethon for the Kids Help Phone. So welcome, and I'll take it away, Jackie.
Well, first off, I'm sure you are the reason many people smile every day as well. So shout out to you too. And thanks for all that you guys at Rogers are doing to keep us all connected. And that's what Never Dance Alone was all about. And it was a fundraiser for Kids Help Phone. We've been doing a Kids Help Phone walk in Owen Sound for, I think it's 10 years now. And we are one of the few communities across Canada that has a community planned event. So most of the walks across Canada for Kids Help Phone are planned by Kids Help Phone staff. But here in Grey Bruce, we've always had a little committee of people that plan it just by ourselves. And I think that's with support from Kids Help Phone, which I think is a really something to be really proud of. So talk about good news. Yes. And so we've been in partnership with BMO for the last few years. So big shout out to Sherry Knott, who's the regional manager, and she is a hard-working lady. And between the two, two of us, we plan this walk each year. Last year, the walk, which happens in Harrison Park every year, we were so excited when we got over 100 people to come, and we raised $10,000. That was incredible to us. So then when it was getting early on, when we knew we wouldn't be able to have the walk this year, we were like, oh no, we have all this momentum that we've been building, and what are we going to do now? And so it was really neat when Kids Help Phone said, we won't have the walk on May 3rd, but give us some time. We're going to come up with something new. And they did. And they created Never Dance Alonethon, which is just really awesome. Their whole reason for that was just kind of like you said, there's so much stuff going on that wouldn't it be great just to have an event that's all about just having fun, just getting outside and dancing with your family, dancing in the kitchen, dancing in the living room, wherever. And that's what we all did. So I thought it was really nice of them to create a fundraising event that became more about connection than it was about raising funds. And I give them big kudos for that.
That's certainly creative thinking, without a doubt, and puts a positive spin on the fact that we are still semi-isolated in many, many ways. So tell me a little bit about what happened and who participated and how was it? Was it successful?
So I think the best sign of success was the little video we created that we put out on that day has been seen over 1,000 times. And that's I thought, man, I get 60 people to watch, and I've had 1,000 people watch the video. So that's been really cool. And what was really neat too was that morning we saw more donations as a team of our youth awareness volunteers and staff than we've ever had the last 5 years combined. So it was really neat to see the support the community gave us. And overall, we've raised, just as a little team, $1,300, which is incredible. So we had Tyler Stone, he lives just outside of town, Emily Lemon, and we danced together. We used Zoom. We didn't do a very good job of it, technology, and but we still came up with a little video and some pictures, and it was just awesome. And overall, Kids Help Phone raised over $2.3 million that day. And that's, I think, the biggest takeaway from all of that is that the community across Canada stepped up, which was really important. And I think a sign of how Canadians respect the service and are willing to support it.
Excellent. I'm wondering, as people are watching this program, donations are always welcome, correct?
Yes.
In other words, the dance-a-thon has occurred, but if people wanted to donate, how would they continue to do so?
That's an awesome question. So you can always still go to neverdancealone.ca. That's their website. And it's open for donations all the way to the end of the month. Or if you're a BMO customer, it's super easy. You just take your donation with you to the bank, and they process it all. So I know we still have some cash donations that I have to take to the bank. So I'm really excited about that, because then I can say we've raised $1,400. So.
And Jackie, will you be dancing up to the teller?
Yes.
You got to show those moves.
Awesome.
That I would love to see. You never know, the teller might join in the dance behind the.
That's a great idea. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, the dance continues. So, I mean, it's wonderful. And who would have anticipated this response, correct?
Oh, you may have to say that again.
I did. No problem. This is wonderful, but would you in your wildest dreams have anticipated this kind of event raising this kind of money?
No, and it's really amazing when you think about it, because normally they raise $4 million, and you think to yourself, oh, it's such a bummer we only raised 2.3. But when you think about it, there was no overhead. We didn't have to rent any buildings or rent a tent or pay for food. So it is really incredible to think that 2.3 million is 100% net for Kids Help Phone. And so that's something to be really, really excited. And yeah, as you said, to raise $1,400 between five of us, we were pretty stoked about that.
Excellent. So before we talk about Kids Help Phone, do you anticipate in the future that this kind of event may continue using technology based on what you've seen?
I really think that's a really good point, because when I think about, again, 100 people we got last year to the walk, but 1,000 people watched the video. What does that say about access and being able to take part and participate? And I think we've been talking about that for the last week, even about meetings, being able to connect this way. My availability back in the past when I was driving around between schools would be limited, but to continue on in this format, we're going to see more participation. And I really think that's a real positive out of all this, that Kids Help Phone probably had more participation virtually than they would have had in person.
Excellent. So explain a little bit about the services provided by Kids Help Phone, and what you would say for people to use the resources. And then if you wouldn't mind also discussing the impact of COVID-19 and isolation on that particular service.
Two really important things. So Kids Help Phone, the best way I can describe it is that they've been planning for this their whole life. This is exactly what they're made for. They've been doing this for 30 years, and they are the only cross-Canada crisis line, and it just happens to be for children and youth. We don't have an all-across-Canada crisis line for adults. It doesn't exist. We have different numbers you can call in different regions, but this is one phone number that anybody under the age of 25 can reach out to. And about a year and a half ago, they added a text option, which is really great, because let's say you and I are in the staff room when we can get in a staff room, and I'm having a bad day. I don't want you listening in on my conversation. I might have some real private stuff there. So that's why they added the text line, so that kids could be texting and nobody needed to know.
Excellent.
It was completely private. Well, the great thing about that was now they said anybody can use the text line. So it doesn't matter if you're under 25, over 25, anybody can use that service. The one thing they changed during COVID-19 was they did see a big spike in calls, because kids were worried about school. They were worried about their family getting sick. They were worried about them getting sick. There was lots of things on their minds. And so what they did do was Kids Help Phone had an online chat for many years. They had to pull back a little bit on that, and they put those counselors straight to the telephone. So that's been a change during all this, but they're still reaching 4 million people every single year. And I know a big chunk of that is from our area, and that makes me feel really, really good.
So the pre-COVID, there were actually people could call in and text, but also a chat room where people could sort of discuss things together.
You got it.
Wow. So except for the chat room, the texting and the services continued. I'm wondering about the training of the people who answer the phone. Who mans the phone, and what training is required?
That is a perfect question. I always tell the kids when if I'm in a school or a classroom, I can't work at Kids Help Phone because I don't have the right education, even though mental health is what I talk about and I love to talk to kids. I can't work there. So to work at Kids Help Phone, you have to be a counselor, a psychotherapist, BSW, MSW, social work. So that's what they're good at, and that's what they're trained on. And then the text line, actually, you and I could assist with that. So there are, oh gosh, 1,100 people right now that are answering that text line, and they've been trained how to support people through questions and issues and worries and concerns. And then if they're concerned about that individual, they connect them to extra supports.
So they have the ability to fan out if there was someone that they were quite concerned about.
You got it.
And how does it respect the confidentiality? Because you mentioned they wouldn't want someone else to hear, but how does that work?
So it's a question we get so often. How many kids call from our area? Well, guess what? We don't know. And why don't we know? Because it's completely confidential. They don't know who you are, where you're calling from. And that's what makes the service so user-friendly for kids. They know they're not going to be talking to their brother's girlfriend's neighbor. They're talking to somebody who doesn't know who they are. So it's completely judgment-free. And that makes it a really easy sell to somebody who isn't sure where to start.
Yeah, for sure. So the youth, they initiate the call, and then based on the conversation, would they ever expect a counselor to continue that kind of calling back? Like, does it set up a dialogue back and forth in not just one call?
So that's the one thing that's different about it. So I often compare Kids Help Phone to service like West for Youth Online. And Kids Help Phone is crisis. They are there 24/7. If I text, within 2 seconds, someone texts me back. West for Youth Online isn't necessarily a real-time conversation, but you get connected to one person, and that's the person you talk back and forth with. So you have to kind of weigh those two things. If I need to talk to somebody right now, I can call the Kids Help Phone and know I will get supported. But I can't necessarily call back the next day and speak to the same person. And because it's anonymous, they can't call me back.
Gotcha. So it stays anonymous then.
You got it.
Yeah. But I can certainly see why that would be so helpful with kids who just want someone to talk to, but they don't feel comfortable sharing anything that would identify them at all. Yeah.
You got it. And we're seeing that in the stats. Over 50% of the people that reach out to Kids Help Phone have identified that the issue they talk about with that counselor, that is the first time they have said it out loud to somebody.
Wow.
And that's amazing. So this is something they've been worried about or dealing with, but they've been keeping it to themselves, maybe thinking they could manage it or it would get better by itself. And when it doesn't, that's when they reach out. And that's really amazing to think that this is such a safe place that they can share those issues.
Yes. Now, I understand that it's confidential, but do you ever hear back about trends that the Help Phone is seeing? Do you get that kind of, because I would think there may be different things in COVID-19.
Such a great question. So every year the Kids Help Phone releases exactly that. What are the number one reasons people call? And up until COVID-19, it was life. Life was the number one, just stuff. Family was number two, believe it or not. How do I help my parent? My brother's ticking me off, right? Those kinds of things. And number three is mental health, anxiety, lots of different things in there. Since COVID-19, anxiety has gone way up. And so that's been the majority of the calls. But what we're also seeing is we've also seen an increase. They've also seen an increase in abuse. So that's worrisome because, again, we know home isn't safe for every person. And so while we're safe at home, not everybody is safe at home. And so that's something they have noticed an increase in. But on the positive side, since COVID-19, something they've seen a decrease in is bullying, because kids aren't in school. So truly, there are kids that are safe at home and aren't in those situations they had found themselves in at school or on a bus or after school. And so that's been something they've noticed.
Excellent. Quite a change then, actually.
Yeah.
Now, the anxiety. And I know, growing up, being a kid, it's tough. Being an adult's tough, but being a kid is really tough. The anxiety that people are experiencing is something I'm not sure we've ever experienced before. Can you speak a little bit about even coping strategies? Who would think that not having to go to school or go to work would be anxiety producing?
You got it. I had it's been, again, a positive of a negative situation. To say mental health is on the top of everybody's radar now is quite a statement we never thought we would say. And that I'm truly thankful for, that more and more people are recognizing, wow, that this is causing me worry. This is what mental health is. This is what anxiety feels like. And that's been a benefit, not that more people are experiencing that, but more people are understanding it. And that's, I just find so incredible. But yeah, it's being a kid is tough. And losing your connections with your friends, losing your connections with your teachers, those things that we counted on that were part of our routine. And Kids Help Phone can help with all of that. Again, because they're educated and trained counselors, they can help with coping strategies and, hey, have you ever thought about trying this? Or have you reached out to somebody locally to get some extra supports for? And this is where I always give massive shout out to their website. kidshelpphone.ca is this massive resource of information. And one of the pages I really like is a top 10 list of self-care. And it gives a little checky mark. Here are 10 things we need to be doing, not a, hey, if I feel I need it. No, this is stuff we need to be doing right now. And at the bottom of the checklist, there's a little tab and you can take the quiz. And it's going to ask you, Carol, are you taking care of yourself? Are you making time for you? Are you feeling connected right now? And I think it's really great that they word it in a general sense, that this is stuff every one of us needs to be doing right now. And I love that because, again, we all have mental health. We all have feelings. We all have thoughts. This is stuff we should have been doing routinely anyways.
I find that as time goes on and we've been in this situation longer, everything you've said, the longer it goes on, the more people are aware. I feel differently now. It's not a comfortable place to be necessarily. So as we reopen, will you be having a different strategy having gone through COVID-19, or what's your rollout going to be, Jackie?
So I have to absolutely celebrate that we've tried in these last few months. We've been feeling out and trying new ways of connecting with people. And we are hearing feedback that people love talking on the phone. It takes away a lot of barriers in terms of transportation, time off work. And so that we're taking that feedback really to heart. And if we can be changing how we do services so that more people reach out, let's keep going with this.
Yeah.
And I'm also very hopeful that increases in funding to mental health services also keeps going. And that's something I'm very, very hopeful for.
And that's how the community can help your organization, as well as the Kids Help phone, because it will take time as we move through this process. We'll still be talking about COVID-19 impacts months down the road. I mean, this is for some a life-changing event.
Yep. As my boss says, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and originally I think we were all hoping it would be more of a sprint, but reality is certainly a whole different perspective. We just have a few minutes left in the program. Are you concerned about any potential increase in suicide risk to our youth?
You know, it's a concern for everybody, because again, when we're in marathon situations, that's when it starts to feel big. And when it starts to feel big to a person, that's when we need to be concerned. Again, I give a great example is Kids Help Phone. In the past, they would do about 4 rescues a day where they connect a young person to a hospital or have somebody sent to their house. We are already seeing increases in that, where there are more rescues happening. But at the same time, the positive we got to take out of that is that for every one of those rescues, it was made possible because somebody made a phone call. And that's really what we need to have happen, whether it's me calling somebody I'm worried about or sharing the right messages that people know, hey, they can call us when they feel those big feelings that they're having trouble managing. And we want people to know there is always help. There is always somebody available, regardless of whether it's by phone or in person at the hospital, in the emergency room, crisis room, there is help.
The important message from what you're saying for sure is, yes, it's Kids Help Phone, but it's life-saving.
Yes.
It is a lifesaver for some who are having those big feelings, and they're reaching out for sure. So, Jackie, I really appreciate you being here on the program and talking about this resource. This is critical. Having one number across Canada is amazing. Really, I wish you every success, and I hope you will join us again on the program and share the information. And I do hope that you will be taking care of yourself as well.
Oh, so clever. Well done. And do I have time to shout out the phone number? Because I don't think I did that.
Let's do that now, and I'll sign off right after.
Excellent. 1-800-668-6868. Call anytime.
Thank you, Jackie, and thank you to our viewing audience for joining us today. Please join us again to learn more about services and resources available to you and to your family. Take care, stay safe, care for each other. Thank you.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.